Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another scene set in the Chronicles of Darkness Vampire the Requiem, a Requiem for London. Tonight, in what many mortals would consider the afternoon, but the Kindred is just the beginning of their evening. Joshua awakes from his slumber within his theatre. When he checks the time, once again, he learns that it is really only the late afternoon to early evening. Quite early by the standards of literally any other city. And he gets himself ready for a meeting he has arranged, either as a bishop of the Sanctified or as an archon of the Princeton.
I will point out that before he does anything else, Joshua's not really a big person in the sense of, it's funny because he's a bishop, but he's not a big person for like really outward displays of faith in terms of like actually performing his faith. Because his response is, "I'm faithful. I don't need to show that I am." But for the first time in a very long time, for about a good solid 10 minutes, he is going to kneel and actively pray. Because what he is about to do will have monumental effects. His religious remunerations done, he will stand, dress himself, and be on his way.
And you have arranged to meet both Verve Thackeray and Mr. Sanford, yes?
Yes.
You have enough city status and sanctified status at this point. They will actually respond to your request. So actually having arranged a meeting isn't too difficult. The Carthians understand the practicality of keeping in touch with someone of respect in a city, even if they're, not a primogen. In fact,
Also,
I did
do Stainforth a big favor. I haven't seen him since I did the favor, which was I did give him one of my orbs of light for free at the auction, if you recall. I said I was giving one to the Carthians.
Yeah, Stanford is very receptive, and funnily enough, Thackeray is actually not unreceptive, which is what you might have expected. But they both agree to meet with you. The meeting will be within Brunel University in Hillingdon.
Neat.
So very deep into Carthian territory, kind of on the edge of London, really. But you're free to make your way over at your leisure. The meeting does take place a few hours from after you wake up, so you have time to do your own things. You go out hunting, catch yourself a model to eat, and drain some of their blood before making your way over to Hillingdon. This time, when you enter Carthian territory, you are not badgered and assaulted by large numbers of angry, wayward kindred.
It's definitely an improvement.
So I assume you drive or are driven on over.
Mm-hmm.
The evening is unremarkable. Warmer now, but pretty cloudy and bland. There's not really much going on this evening. Nothing gossip-worthy. The Harpies had nothing interesting to say. But eventually you make your way over to Brunel University. It's one of many universities in London. But not exactly as on the same level as the inner city universities. Still, it is quite large.
Have I been given a location to go to be met?
Yeah, you've been asked to go to the lecture centre.
All right, in that case, that is where he will go.
Well, the lecture centre itself is actually quite ugly on the outside. It literally looks like just giant slabs of jagged concrete with an open roof.
Was it one of those buildings that was an attempt to be like modern art and just epically failed at it?
In a sense, yeah. It definitely has that sort of it has a very sort of brutal, domineering feel just because of the sort of parts of the roof jut out. And looks quite ominous and foreboding. But the interior of which is just the ground floor is just a bunch of clear glass, so you can see on the inside very clearly. It's complete opposite to what the atmosphere is of the building on the outside. Looks quite cozy. Looks fairly modern. Has that modern university feel. Quite colourful and modernist. Very optimistic. There is actually someone inside that is just on the computer that didn't appear to be doing much. They just appear to actually be sitting behind a desk on their phone and register as a kindred at all.
Joshua will get out of his car. He'll tell the driver that he'll call him, or he'll send a text message when he needs to be picked up, but he'll walk into the lecture center.
Okay. Yeah, the doors do open. The woman behind the desk gets up and straightens up a little bit and says, may I help you?
I have a meeting with... Is Stainforth a public figure here? Like, is he a professor or anything like that?
You don't know.
I had a meeting and I was told to come here.
May I have your name? Perhaps I can help you.
Joshua Bainforth.
I saw your magic show a few weeks ago. That was amazing.
Thank you. I'm looking to give some... how would I phrase this? Charitable donations to the college. Good civic duty and all that.
Oh, no, it's quite all right. You, let's see. And she kind of looks on her phone and not the computer. Yes, you are due for now. Please, right this way. The room is, it's the seminar room M9.
Wonderful. Thank you.
She'll actually escort you over to it. It's basically all the way down the building. But yeah. Eventually find your way to a completely empty seminar room with all those chairs set up in the semi-circular fashion, surrounding the stage with a large projector screen, a small desk, some tables, a couple of stacked up chairs by the side. And the two leaders of the Carthian movement, Mr. Sanford, thanks his secretary. Once you're welcomed in, she will leave. Ver, for her part, is just leaning against the wall on the stage. Dracian is just standing, just in front of the stage itself. He will walk on over to you.
He will, Joshua will extend his hand.
Good to see you again, Archon.
He seems to contemplate for a few moments, but he will say, "Indeed, though I wish it was under better circumstances."
I tend to think that quite a lot. We appear to live in troubled times, but then when have we not?
He looks at him and he says, "Do you believe that certain days possess serendipity? Days that change the very nature of the place, or indeed the world that we live in, that build it and shatter it all at once?"
I've lived long enough and seen enough kindred to know that is the case.
He will. Joshua will take a seat. It doesn't really matter where he sits, but he will take a seat and he will say, "What I have come to tell you, I would be executed for in the event it were to be revealed. The court would execute me as quickly as I was forced to execute as quickly as I executed one of my own covenant members for the sake of what has become a corrupt and decadent and vile regime. I trust that the seriousness does not wash over you."
Verve gives a sly smile and says, "What, it took you that long to figure it out?"
No, it didn't. I have seen things that I wish I could forget, but will be seared into my mind until the day I cease to walk these nights and eventually meet my Maker. And even then, the reason I'm here is because when my Maker asks of me, "Joshua, what did you do to stop this?" I will look at my God in the face, and I will answer him, "I did what I could." Joshua removes. He's going to carry a briefcase with him, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
He opens the briefcase, click, 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 before he takes out of his briefcase a list. Since I have my memories and I know who is there, Joshua, this is a list of the kindred I know to be in the shard, because I've read the name tags on the cells.
The cells themselves are featureless.
Yeah. Well, the ones who I know are there then.
Yeah. You don't know everybody, but you've interrogated your fair number of kindred there. You're aware of some kindred within the shard. Definitely a good number of them.
There might be some names on the list they might or might not know. or might not know we're there. But he'll offer the list to the guillotiner rather than to Stainforth. Like, he kind of just holds it up towards it.
What the hell is this?
A list of occupants currently within the Shard prison.
You've been there?
I know where it is. And that is the information I have come to give you this evening.
She reflexively scrunches the a paper when you say that. Sort of mix of anger and enthusiasm builds across her face as she says, "Well, where is it?"
Before I tell you, I will require certain assurances. He then kind of looks to Stainforth because he is obviously the more reasonable and business-minded of the two.
I assume you would want protection in exchange for leaking this information.
He will contemplate.
As you say, you put yourself in a very dangerous position by granting us such valuable intel.
Mr. Stainforth, I have a question for you before we continue in order to show you the value of the information I offer you, because I think you underestimate what is currently happening. Do you have the ability to view the mind and to see memories?
No, that is a certain skill that I do not possess.
He looks up towards the guillotiner. You.
She gives you a really look.
He sits in his chair and he pens his fingers. Then I invite you, before we continue this debate, to summon any member of your organization. After all, you are a fraternity. You trust those whom are in your employ, who possess such an ability, to come here. There is something I need to show a Carthian for them to speak to you as a Carthian would before I continue. You may summon whomever you like. There must be one in your movement who possesses this particular knack.
Someone places their hand upon your shoulder when you say that. You actually see the hand manifest sort of from a transparent to a translucent to a solid state, as if it fades into view.
Are they placing it on the shoulder, or are they gripping his coat? Because that's a very,
It's not aggressive.
Okay.
Although they are doing it from behind you, so it is very much a bit of a shock. It could definitely be perceived as aggressive, but they're not not slamming their hand down on your shoulder in any fashion. It's not particularly thuggish.
He says, I was expecting you to have friends.
It's this woman.
Charmed to meet you, my dear.
She smiles, but remains largely silent. She has sort of how to put it. It's almost it's her of a light bronze color.
Mhm.
Um, Pale skin, blue eyes, and faint dappling of freckles across her skin, across the bridge of her nose. Um, she's dressed quite formally, but in a fashion that's slightly outdated.
Very well. Master Stainforth, a gentleman's agreement. We will discuss terms when it is you understand the magnitude of what I offer. I will freely offer the memories of what occurs within the shard. However, I would like any and other of my memories, including the shard's location, for this moment in time to be kept to myself. So it is we may better understand the price of the information that is offered. Is this acceptable to you?
Stanford looks between you and this new guest. This is acceptable.
Joshua takes a moment. He kind of centers himself with one of those, kind of. He doesn't need to breathe. One of those deep, calming breaths. Those showrunner exercises he was always taught to do to ward away stage fright. Before he will just look at the young woman or the kindred who touched his shoulder, and he will say, "By all means, please look and see with your eyes unclouded." And he will focus on his memories of the atrocities that were committed there, the things that were so heinous he had to roll humanity.
Mm-hmm. You feel the touch of something upon your mind, and you see it focus on the memories that you bring forward. The sensation is very faint. It is not like the feelings that you have had before, where intrusions into your mind were more blunt or brazen or intrusive. It does not feel as if someone is digging particularly deep. It is not really a struggle to keep them out or to direct them.
Okay.
Although they do stay upon their own path within your mind. This person remains fairly calm throughout the whole process. There's no real hint of trauma or horror, or even that much emotion at all in what they see. Is perhaps almost unnervingly calm. And eventually, the sensation begins to fade. And you do not think this person is within your mind anymore, you think.
He'll blink it off before, kind of do the blink before he shakes his head side to side, kind of like, like, ooh.
She looks at Stanford. You must carry a heavy burden.
He will nod.
That could not have been easy for you to witness. I am sorry.
Is this the Maquette or Stainport saying this?
Stanford.
He will say,
Do you actually want to roll me a wits plus empathy check? Difficulty is minus. Let's see, not difficulty. Dice penalty is -4 because he's very good at this.
yeah, you know what? I'm going to even spend a willpower for it because fuck yeah.
You like your toast very black, don't you?
According to legend.
Ooh. Ooh, that is unfortunate. No, he while the kindred that appeared from obfuscation didn't appear particularly phased by what they saw, Drayson appears substantially more affected. But he retains his composure, but it's clear that he feels quite strongly about what is.
Everything's satisfactory. Well, I do not have some toast.
Hang on 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Joshua will nod before he will say, very well. As for agreements to be made, you now understand the magnitude of the situation. I assume that is indeed the case.
They have always suspected of what took place within the shard, but it is always something else to see it, to know of it.
Yes.
I find it is never something that gets easier.
In light of this... Oh, sorry, continue.
Well, he would say, I would believe even the most black-hearted of kindred would balk at what goes on there.
He looks towards the guillotiner and he says, I assume armed with this information, you will seek to do what it is you do and storm the Bastille.
She doesn't actually say much. It's almost as if a lot of thoughts are going through her head right now. It's clear she wasn't really expecting this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that she's dazed or anything or overwhelmed. It's just that
Processing.
It's almost as if she's processing the information she's been given, and perhaps already planning to do what you have suggested, she will probably do.
He will say, armed with this information, Master Stainforth, you will be forced to claim the praxis of this city. Or make a bid for it. Would you agree with that sentiment?
The Carthians have no singular ruler, but yes, I understand what you are saying. We've always contested establishment rule within this city. And with this, no Carthian would be able to stand aside and allow this to continue. Nor would I hope any kindred. I am glad to see that you believe the same.
Then here are my list of requests. I will not call them demands. In exchange for the information as to the location of the shard, as well as what I know about its security, you will guarantee the Lancea in a princedom that is ruled by the Carthians will maintain the domains that we currently possess, as well as occupy... Bishop, what's a good district that's currently controlled by the Invictus? One that we'd actually like.
Oh, you mean Camden? Everybody loves Camden. Even you love Camden.
I thought that we had Camden.
Yeah.
Do we not have Camden?
You have Camden.
No. What's a good domain that the Invictus currently have? Basically, he's asking for another district of the city to go to the Lancea in exchange for this information. He's playing politics.
1 second. I actually think...
Preferably one in like the city center.
Yeah, it is... You could ask for the City of London, but that's a bit of a stretch, just because it's so... It's a very touchy place for a lot of kindred, just due to all of the levels of power there. You could ask for Westminster, or at least part of it. Southwark as well. Southwark has several noteworthy cathedrals that are of interest to the Sanctified. They may have even possessed them once upon a time.
In that case, people say the Lancea et Sanctum will take possession of Suffolk, as well as we will subdivide Westminster into 2 smaller domains, one of which will go to the Lancea, the other of which will be maintained more than likely by your own movement. Is the first step of this agreement agreeable to you?
He looks down, thinks. If you would provide me with your other requests first.
What was the other request?
No, if you provide me
apologies.
with other requests. I would like to know the totality of what it is you desire.
All members of the Sanctified currently ensconced in official postings within the city who have not shown themselves to be grossly incompetent will maintain their current seated positions. will be reinstated when the Praxis War ends. These are the two macro level requests. There are also two personal requests.
He gestures with his hand as if to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Something you notice. Kindred is no longer present.
Mm-hmm. In addition to a public declaration of friendship issued on my behalf from the Carthian movement. He looks up at the guillotiner, as I believe I have now more than proven I am not a... What was the term she called for me? She had a word for me. It was like a slang word. Was it a shill? I can't remember.
I think it was that. Shill or sellout, yeah.
As I have proven I am no shill, I will take one of the two unoccupied sheriff's seats when this business is concluded.
I mean, you say that you're still trying to personally benefit from this whole thing.
Is that her who says that?
Yeah.
He looks up at her and he says, I am ensuring the position of my family. You would do the same. I am also ensuring that in this new order, this corruption will not rise again, and I will take a seat to ensure that it does not.
She huffs. Looks at Stanford. And then looks back to you. Well, what's your last request?
My last request is a more personal request. He looks at Sanforth. As you know, I have been leading the fight against certain entities that plague this city. I have identified no less than 2 more that currently stalk our streets. Is that of interest to you?
He looks down again and back up to you. Any information regarding them would be appreciated, and I'll pass it on to the hunter that has since entered the domain in search of them.
Very well. You possess an ability that would aid me greatly in my battles against these entities. The ability to summon fire from your hand. That is what I desire.
Wait, what the fuck?
To aid me in the hunting.
How the fuck do I not know about this? We are talking about this later. Thracian just sighs, gestures. She actually looks furious. She looks as if she's about to explode.
My apologies, I didn't know that was a secret. Poor old Joshua didn't.
I cannot give you a straight answer to these requests immediately. Many of these are contingent upon the Invictus being removed from power. However, you will receive an honest answer in the nights to come. That I promise you. And you have.
And you, Master Stanforth, will need the aid of the Second Estate. Because I think the whatchamacallit, I think that the Lancea are the Second Estate, aren't they?
They are considered
the Church is the Second Estate. Mm-hmm. And you will need the aid of the Second Estate in order to overwhelm the Invictus. He looks up at the guillotiner and he says, "You're a practical woman. I'm not lying in that. With my Covenant's aid, this entire war would be much easier."
Well, that's true. I believe that you believe that.
What was that? Sorry, Bishop? Something about believe that?
I believe that you believe that. As in, she thinks you're being honest. Whether she actually believes you are correct is another matter.
Bishop Castiel is a fine woman and truly a hopeful individual who would have a better city for all. When it is, she understands what...
She also supports the establishment.
When it is that she understands what has happened and the sins that have transpired, our religion itself is offended and affronted by this. We will take action. I will speak to the other bishops. I should be able to sway them. We are God's vengeance. We will not let a third party proxy our role.
Well, let's hope for you that that's true.
In that case, Mr. Stanforth, Joshua will stand up. When it is you have reached your decision on my proposal, you know where it is I can be contacted.
I am very much aware, yes. Thank you. You have done this entire domain an immense service.
Joshua will walk towards the door that he came in from, and he will say, he sighs as he comes to the door before you see him clench his fist, and he will say, "May God forgive me, but one way or another, whether you decide to accept my proposal, which I gave fairly or not, I will not let this continue. I give up my leverage. You may decide to grant me the boons I requested, or you may not. But as God is my witness, I will not let this continue to stand. The Shard is itself a play on words. It's located under the Shard building. You simply have to access it via a service elevator located on the ground floor in this location. You drop down several feet. The shard itself is made up of multiple levels. The experiments that you were shown are on the 5th floor, I think. I think it's the 5th floor.
Yeah. The prison blocks are on multiple floors, so
Oh.
it's not just one floor. They have a
Accept
lot
my
of
deal.
room.
Okay. Accept my deal or don't. I will not let them live in that pain any longer. As God is my witness, Longinus protect me. Accept it or don't, but see to it that they are free.
There is only the sound of a table being split in two by someone's fist colliding with it as you go to leave. And the sound of...
Is it because it was so painfully
That
obvious
piece
that
of
no one
shit!
considered it?
The sound of yelling and arguing as you depart the building. And the scene coming to an end. Thank you, Play for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.